All right, let's just jump right into it. Welcome to today's explainer. I'm going to ask you to put on your manager hat right now and honestly, maybe grow a bit of thick skin. We're tackling one of the most deeply uncomfortable, yet totally unavoidable transitions in your career. It's that tricky, awkward moment when you step up into management and you realize the people now reporting to you, well, they used to be your peers. And some of them, they were genuinely your friends. So today, I'm putting on my coach's hat because I really need to make sure you understand what being a manager actually demands of you in this specific situation.
So really think about this for a second. What happens to a friendship the very day you become the boss? It's a heavy question, right? I mean, you probably complained about the old boss together, maybe you covered for each other on bad days or grabbed a drink on Fridays, but now you are the boss. And that is the exact premise of our explainer today. We're going to look at why pretending nothing has changed hurts absolutely everyone and how you actually need to navigate this brand new reality.
All right, Section 1, the hard truth first, the exact moment the dynamic shifts.
We really need to establish the stark mechanical reality of your promotion here, because literally overnight, you were handed the exact levers to their career. We're talking about their growth, their morale, their pay hikes, and their performance ratings. You've got to understand what this looks like from the other side of the desk. Some of those former peers, they're going to resent you. Some might quietly ask to move to another team. And I need to be incredibly clear on this point. These are not petty or immature reactions. Actually, scratch that. They are entirely rational. You were a teammate one day and the person who decides their financial future the very next. Anyone would need time to recalibrate that.
So here is the absolute bottom line. You are no longer their friend, and they are no longer yours. At least not in the way you were. Just let that sink in for a second. Your history as great colleagues, that isn't erased. That still exists. But the underlying dynamic has permanently shifted. And as your coach today, I'm telling you flat out that you must accept this fundamental change before any other problem can be solved.
Moving on to Section 2, why friendship cannot survive. It's all about the loss of equality.
We need to break down the logical, structural reason why the old relationship is now essentially broken. Listen, it's not about you being a bad person, okay? It's about the architecture of the relationship. Friends are, by definition, equals. Friendship runs on equality and on the freedom to be totally candid without it costing you anything. You can say no to a friend. You can't really say no to your manager. The second you cross over into management, you hold power over their income, their ratings, their career progression. That equality, it's entirely gone. Even if you swear up and down you'll never pull rank, well, they know that you could. And that single piece of knowledge quietly filters and reshapes every single interaction you have with them from now on. It changes what they tell you, and just as importantly, what they hold back. It changes how they interpret your jokes. Think about it. A joke from a peer is funny, but that same joke from the boss, that might feel like a critique. It completely changes whether they feel safe pushing back when they disagree with you. The unspoken awareness of your new authority is just always in the room. Which brings us to Section 3, the pretending trap, and why ignoring all this hurts absolutely everyone. This right here is the most dangerous psychological instinct that almost every new manager falls for. You tell them, hey, we're still mates, just treat me exactly the same. Have you said this? Be honest. Have you thought about saying it? I know it feels generous. You want to reassure them. But as a manager, this is honestly just cowardice masked as loyalty. It is a massive trap. You refusing to acknowledge reality, just hoping that if you act exactly the same, nothing will actually have to change. But really, it just drags out the confusion for everyone. When you fall into that trap, you are guaranteed to drift toward one of two massive failures. Direction 1, you go way too soft. You overlook your friend's missed deadline, you inflate their performance rating, you shield them from hard feedback, and guess what happens? The rest of the team sees the favoritism instantly, and they completely stop trusting you. Then there's direction 2, you overcorrect. You hold your friend to a much harsher standard than everyone else just to prove to the team that you're being fair. The result? You end up losing the friend anyway without gaining a single thing. Pretending the relationship is unchanged is a total lose-lose scenario. All right, Section 4, naming the change early, having that unspoken conversation. So let's stop diagnosing the problem and actually move to the solution. Here is your actionable game plan for your very first week on the job. Do not let the changes sit there unspoken. Silence is exactly where resentment grows like a weed. You need to name the elephant in the room out loud. Ideally, in week one, you sit them down and acknowledge these three things plainly. The friendship mattered, and it still does. But the dynamic between us has genuinely changed. And finally, here is exactly how I intend to be fair to everyone, including you. Look, you don't need some fancy corporate script for this. You just need the courage to say the obvious thing out loud rather than pretending it isn't true. And then you have got to back those words up with absolute consistency. Same standards, same access, same rules. For your former friend and for literally anyone else on the team. No special favors and absolutely no special punishments to compensate either. Listen to me on this one. People will forgive the awkwardness of the transition way faster than they will ever forgive being treated unfairly. Consistency is what rebuilds trust. It tells your friend you respect them, and it proves to the rest of your team that you can actually be trusted with authority. Section 5, what replaces the friendship? Navigating the new dynamic. Now, I don't want you leaving this explainer thinking management means you have to become some cold, distant robot. That's just the pretending trap in reverse. The end of the traditional friendship is not the end of the relationship. This is your new normal. You get to keep the respect, the warmth, and the trust. Those survive the change perfectly well. But you firmly must let go of the casual equality and the assumption that you are two peers with nothing at stake between you. You've got to let that part go so you can keep the rest. Because ultimately, this is your new goal. You're not their friend in the old sense, sure, but you can become something arguably way more valuable to them now. You get to be someone genuinely invested in their growth who will also tell them the absolute truth. That is what a truly great manager is. Accepting the shift early, naming it openly, and proving your fairness, it's the absolute kindest thing you can do for both of you. It gives the relationship its very best chance of surviving in a brand new shape. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on. If you've had to manage a former peer or friend, how did you handle the shift? And knowing what you know right now, what would you do differently if you could do it all over again? Really think about it. Step up, be honest about what's changed, and go lead your team. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.